Hello, and welcome to our virtual annual discipline meeting for the 2024-2025 school year. I am Dane Lamont, the School Partnership Specialist for Penn Highlands Dual Enrollment Program. During our fall 2024 semester, we plan to have our in-person ACE discipline meeting at the Penn Highlands Richland campus. Unfortunately, poor weather conditions forced us to cancel the event this year. However, our college liaisons were still able to hold recorded Zoom sessions to discuss specific topics related to the disciplines you teach. Please enjoy this recording of your annual discipline-specific activity, and we hope you can join us in person next year. Thank you for making this program possible for your school and your students.
Great. So sharing my screen now, just have the agenda up. We did the welcome and course syllabus. One of the things, and a lot of us are new, and Scott, I can't remember from when you do your syllabi or something. In the past year, I've actually become a NACEP evaluator of other schools. So right now I'm on a team evaluating a college in New York who has a dual enrollment program, and then seeing if like everything they're doing meets the standards of NACEP to continue that accreditation that's there for it. And one of the things I've learned doing this is one of the standards is they like the high school teachers on their syllabus to have the course that it is equivalent to at the college. So like all of you kind of said, like this is equivalent to ECU 110 or 101 or 298, whichever one it is. That is one thing that when they look at like an example of your course syllabus, they like to see this is equivalent to Penn Highlands ECE 110. So that's something to think about in the future when you're remaking those syllabi, like for the next school year. If you do have any students who are going to be taking it for dual enrollment, to throw our course up there next to yours, just so you're aware of it. I saw a really nice one. It was a math faculty, and they actually just put it in the footer, and it met the requirement for NACEP that just said this class is also equivalent to Penn Highlands such and such that's there. I'm not sure if any of you work with any other colleges with dual enrollment, such as like the Mount or St. Francis, that's there for, they are not NACEP accredited, so like they wouldn't need that on your syllabi, but it's something else you could put on. I have some science high school teachers who their course is good for St. Francis, the Mount, and for Penn Highlands, and they list all three out on their syllabi that's there. So that's just something to keep in mind when you do your syllabi the next time that's there. And one of the, I'm kind of going out of order here a little bit, assessment. One of the things with assessment, we at Penn Highlands, Scott's been doing this for a long time. And when he first started, we went out and we would give you the learning objective that you had to meet, and then you would send us artifacts of like examples. Now NACEP has done away with that for everybody who's new. You don't have any background on that. You just have to send us basically what the student got, 80%, 90%, 70, how many students, got each of it that only take it for dual enrollment. So that's become a little bit easier. One of the other changes that we'll be making is we are working together as a college to kind of figure out when the best method and collection for assessment is. So I know for Kelsey and Jen, we've been doing email. And I've just kind of put it in the email, like, here's what you have to assess. And then you've sent me the assessment information back already. Scott, does Morgan use the form when she does it? Do you remember?
When she comes in to observe, or
Yeah, when she
is that what we're,
observes, and then, yeah, you have to do
yes,
the,
yeah, she completes a form and then it's sent to me. I review it, I sign off on it, and then I send it back to her.
for the learning outcome, though, like when you assess
So
the kids in your class, do you fill out a form or do you just send her the information back in an email of like how many kids got A's, B's, C's? And honestly, you might
I
not
was
have
gonna say,
had.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say because her and I we share the same syllabi, like the same
Hmm.
syllabus, word for word as we go through. I just have the addendum attached to it. Um, I'm assuming I probably just send her, this is how many A's I have, this is how many B's, this is how many C's, because we were big on artifacts for quite some time.
Yes.
So I had to show what an A paper looked like
Mhm.
compared to like an F. So yeah, at the end of the school year now, that's basically what I do. Because
Yeah.
we haven't completed the common assessment yet.
Okay. And that's what one of the other things for everybody who's new, um so like Jen and Kelsey both had enrollment in their classes this year as first time new teachers. So that's why I went out and observed them. And then Elise, do you have any students taking the 110 for credit right now? Is it a full year course or a half year course?
It's a full year.
Okay. So I might be actually coming out in the spring then, because they will split them with visits. But usually the first time we do it, and then the first time you have enrollment, we come out and visit. And then that's the first time we do a common assessment. And then after that, we only visit every 3 years. So in the past, we've only ever done assessment when we've visited. Um, we're not sure where we're going as a college, if we're going to keep doing it that way, or we might do something different since there's no longer artifacts needed. And it's a much simpler process just to say, I had 4 kids, 2 got A's, 2 got B's. Here's what it is. So there could be more changes next year, not this year, just with the assessment piece. So just as a heads up, I just like, everyone to be well aware of everything that's going on. Is there any questions on that? Since we do have some new people.
Is there like a due date, a deadline? Does it matter when we do the common assessment?
No, and it's
Okay.
quite normal that we don't even get some of the high school's information until June, till after
Okay.
their the school year's ended, because I have science teachers who maybe what we picked is something they do in May, and then they send me the results in June. So that's kind of normal.
I mean, we're just starting it now, so it's kind of like my before Christmas project.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, when you
Okay.
send back to me, I have a folder of everybody's ACE stuff, and it internally as a college too. One of the things, we ask you guys to do this, we do assessment. Um, how are we going to review that? How are we going to reflect on that to see if we need changes? I know, like Kelsey, we sent you rubrics for it. Is that rubric sufficient? And Scott Morgan probably has shared rubrics with you too.
Yeah,
With
at the end of the syllabus,
Mhm.
there's three, I believe, three different rubrics for the three objectives that I have to hit.
Yep.
But like mine's very much it's since a full year. I cover like my common assessment grade is worked into the overall class grade.
Hmm.
So that's what at the end of the school year then send to Penn Highlands. So like I don't actually have an individual. I can tell you how many students have received like an A on our common assessment,
Hmm.
but that's factored in with everything else
Yeah.
because it's a 50-40-10.
Hmm.
So I think papers and presentations are 40%. So we had to come up with a system at Southern because we don't run a 90 to a 100 system. Ours is a 93 to a 100 for
Hmm.
an A. So it's been tricky, but I think we have most of it worked out. But like just the individual assessment alone or a common assessment, um, I don't believe that, which I may have, but I think it's always been this is the final grade for
That's
each
it.
of the students in the class because they're all dual enrolled.
Mhm.
So,
Right in your
but
course. Yeah,
yeah,
you guys, for the newer people, you can see every school's a little bit different, the way they do things. And it's perfectly fine that their grading scale is 93, right, for an A.
mhm.
If your school is different on that piece, it is quite often we see this. You could, if a student has a 91, let's say in your class, and they're dual enrolled, then that would be a B in your school district, but that would still be an A in our system. So it's just when you enter those grades into our system, just to be aware of that piece of it. So, which is perfectly fine. We deal with school districts all the time that the grading scales do not match what we do. So that's perfectly
We force grades in. For example, if quarter 1 they receive a 91,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's technically, since it's a college course, that would be bumped up to a 93.
Got it.
So they get a 93 because they have an A.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something probably 5, 6 years ago we had to sit down and look at because we felt it wasn't fair that a student was getting an A in a college course but was getting a B at Southern.
Right.
So we had to go in and look at each quarter and do the 10, was it 50, 40, 10 breakdown for each quarter. So it's been interesting how I mean, it took quite some time to get everything worked out, but I think we have most of it now.
Yeah, that is interesting because we do have school districts who do not view it that way, that they're just like, that's fine. They get the B in the school district and the A in the college course. So it doesn't happen that way everywhere. So that's interesting to know though, that that's what you guys sat down and did. That was nice for the students for you to figure it out like that. So that was good.
It used to be a graduation requirement to take child development. So you could either take it with me in high school because I teach secondary English also. So you could complete it with me as like a high school course, which is completely unrelated really to EC 110. So, but that was still an option for them. So we had to really look out for those kids that decided, hey, this is what we want to do. We want to take the harder course, but it was actually going to hurt them if we didn't do something. So we had to figure that out. But
Nice. Anybody have any other questions on that with assessment? And Elise, if you do have a visit coming up in the spring, I think Kelsey and Jen, since they just went through one, they can attest that like I'll send you the forms ahead of time. We'll set up a date. It's a very low key, non-stress environment of me coming in. I'm not there to evaluate you. I'm there to see if what you teach is meeting the learning objectives that's there for it.
I would imagine it'd be the same forms I had when I got observed or evaluated for psych, right? It's like 2 pages and it's kind of just a checklist of artifacts, whether I have it or not, whether I'm presenting it a certain way or not, and then kind of I sign off on the end.
I don't know. I don't know what psych does.
It was
Psych,
a lot
Okay.
less stressful
Sorry,
than
I
I
didn't.
thought it was going to be. I can say that. I was panicking, but it wasn't as bad as I thought.
we do have, so there's a standard ACE form that we have, but depending on the subject area and who's doing it, I don't know a lot of time the adjuncts, we have an adjunct doing the ACE liaison for us, so I'm not sure who's been out to see you. You can manipulate it a little bit. I would say our form's pretty straightforward. It's the one that I use is pretty easy to go down and see. And then I usually do a one pager for it that I kind of just write down like it met this learning objective on the syllabi and different pieces that was there. So, so it'll probably be a little bit different experience because who's observed you before?
Oh, I'll have to look back at the email. I cannot remember her name because I'm put on the spot.
No, that's fine. Did they do it virtual or did they come out?
They came out.
Yeah, no, that's not a problem. Yeah, so it could have been a tad different. And again, it might change a little bit next year, but you guys won't need visits next year. Scott, I'm not sure what your rotation is on, but everybody I visited this year, you wouldn't have a visit next year then for.
last year, Morgan was in last year. No, it was virtual.
Okay.
So we had to place her in the center of the classroom so that she could participate in the classroom discussions. So she was there,
That was
but
funny.
just not there.
Yeah,
So
so it won't be next year, it'll be the year after. So you're like
yes.
2026. Yeah, till you get
Yeah.
your next one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. one of the other things I wanted to point out, and maybe you know this with your CTCs in the area, our Somerset CTC person was unable to be here tonight with us, but Kelsey and her both are teaching the Career and Technology Centers, and this is something really different because we have not had them in the dual enrollment program before. But if you didn't know, the state is changing. They're not doing the I'm not sure what it was called before, but they're basically not giving the CDAs anymore in if they choose to, correct, Kelsey? Is that right?
Right.
Because Admiral Perry Votech, which is in Evansburg, to my knowledge, they are not participating in this program. They are still doing their CDAs.
The early childhood.
Yeah. hmm So they're the only, because I think Indiana went this way too. And I'm not sure, Elise and Jen, and even Scott, what Career and Technology Center do your students go to? Do you have one up there?
Yeah, ours is the Huntington County Career and Tech Center in Mill Creek.
Okay.
Ours is
And
the same.
Ours is
Go ahead, Elise. Which one's yours?
Greater Altoona Career and Technology Center.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know that one, and I don't know what Huntington's doing either. If they're changing to the Rising Star program or if they're um, keeping the early childhood that's there for it. It probably depends upon enrollment and what the Career and Technology Center wants to do with it. What does that mean? What that means with this Rising Star program, it's trying to help the shortage of teachers in Pennsylvania. I'm actually on the subcommittee for the state in regards to the teacher shortage. We meet monthly. We've been coming up with different plans for how to get more people involved in teaching. There's like 5 different tracks we meet on, and there'll be some different things coming out in the next year with the new budget you might be seeing to try to funnel more kids into the teaching. This was one of them, this Rising Star program. So it's trying to get more kids in right away. And then when they get out, they would come to like a Penn Highlands, already have the credits, and then go on. Now, some of you might know this, might not know this. You might say, well, what's the difference? Because the Career and Technology Centers all have SOAR agreements with the community colleges in Pennsylvania. So kids who went to a Career and Technology Center and then graduated with their CDA, they brought in a bunch of credits to us, and then it was accounted for us. The problem was 4-year colleges do not follow that agreement. So we had these kids coming in who could finish a degree with us, and then they'd go to their 4-year and spend almost 3.5 years trying to get a bachelor's degree in education because the 4-year colleges, the non-state ones, I will say, it's still unclear if all the state ones were following the agreement correctly, but the non-state schools, your Pitts, your Penn States, they don't take in SOAR credits. So this is the state's way to kind of get more of the Career and Technology kids coming in, getting real college credits, and being able to go right to those 4 years that's there for it. And then Kelsey, did you want to say anything else on it? Anybody else has any questions on it?
I think so. Still new and still learning, so I know that the kids like with this, they have a lot more opportunities outside of just early childhood. So it does help, yeah, with that 4-year, just giving them a, I guess, broader and more variety. I know I have kids going out into different school districts, into classrooms. I have kids K-2 right now in different school districts. I have some kids that want to do more towards like the special ed wing of education. They're going to Presley Ridge, and then also some of our, classrooms, early childhood classrooms in the building. So it does give them a lot more opportunity to really explore different avenues. So
That's awesome. Cool. Any questions on that? All right. And then the last thing that we kind of do with these meetings is we have just like a roundtable discussion on some topic. the hot topic, and the one I picked was artificial intelligence usage in high schools in your content area. So we kind of wanted to see, does each of your schools have a policy about this? Is this something that's big in your school, not hitting the wavelengths? Do you use it in your classroom? I will tell you that we tried an experiment. The math teachers, which I thought was really interesting, they teach our MAT 126 and 127, which is elements of math. So they do lesson plans in there with the students, and different math concepts on how to teach math to elementary students. So the math teachers decided they wanted to let our students use AI to create a lesson plan and see how it would do. Our lesson plan template it's kind of what UPJ uses, a little bit of what St. Francis uses. We tried to look at the schools our kids go to the most and have a lesson plan template for them that gave them all those pieces and parts that's there for it. So math teachers let the students do this, and they came back and they discussed it, and she said, what do you feel about this? And there's usually in the math classes, because it's for both secondary and elementary too, depending upon what secondary area they're going into. Like if you're secondary ed history, these math classes can count at your 4-year also. So the biggest comment she got from the majority of the kids is how impersonal the AI was, and they still had to go back and reread through the lesson plan and fix too many things. So they found it to not be time efficient in regard to doing lesson plans. And it was just quicker for them to do it themselves. That was surprising because, again, this generation is supposed to be very tech savvy, which they're absolutely not, because I teach EDU 120, which is tech for teachers. They're really bad with it. They know how to Snapchat and they know how to find their friends. Real technology, they don't understand the parts and pieces of it that's there. So I was kind of surprised with that. We do not incorporate AI in any of the other education classes on a regular basis that's there. But what's happening in your school districts? Who would like to go first?
I know that it's not really me, but I realized that there's apps out there, which I'm clueless. I don't know why, but I am. That some of the construction teachers and more of the shops were telling me about how, the kids, they don't know a math problem, they don't know how to add a fraction or whatever the case may be, but they just take their phone and they take a picture of it and it just tells them everything they need to know. So it was kind of interesting to listen to them, these older men really, and because they were kind of clueless about the technology. And they were just kind of laughing about, these kids can't tell me what this or this, this plus this is. But they pull their phone out and they're like, what? This is how I got it. And I mean, I don't know, it's kind of pros and cons. They like it, but then they don't. But I don't know. It was interesting. They showed me the app and I'm thinking, I don't even know what the heck this is. And I'm definitely one of the younger ones here.
Was it
So
Photomath?
what is it?
Photomath?
Possibly. I don't know. It may be. They just take a picture of it and it like literally just gives them all the steps. I mean, it is nice because it does show them the steps of everything, but I don't know. It was interesting. I don't use it though. I don't know. I just learned ChatGPT or whatever it is, so
Yeah,
I guess that's cool.
Morgan has done that one, and it's funny, like we have some English teachers too utilizing it, allow the kids to utilize it, and they're seeing that it's not as smart as they think it is. That's there, especially for subjects like ours in education, where you have to have more of a personal touch, and it's not like math, where that's the answer, to it. So there's a lot of different pathways.
I guess I did use that whenever I was coming up. I know that we talked before about the school districts kind of being a pain with getting these kids out into the classrooms, and they wanted all these expectations and they wanted this and this, this and that printed. And which our curriculum has had expectations and things listed, but I don't know, some of the school districts they wanted more. So I did try to use the Chat GPT, and it honestly, I felt sometimes it was more work and it was kind of annoying to me. I would type it in and then I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well now I have to like revamp this whole entire thing that's supposed to be great and wonderful, and I don't know. I kind of felt that sometimes it's annoying.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's rough for letters of recommendation. I know I have some coworkers that try to use that for letters of recommendation, and it's like insert student's name. Like there's no attachment, or it's just so generalized that as soon as you read it, you know that something created it, that it was not a person that created it. We use Brisk. It's an extension, so we Brisk most of like any of the papers that they submit to me. I run it through that program, that extension. So it picks out and it will give me a percentage based on what it assumes is generated by AI. And at the same time, it's also checking for plagiarism. So it's like a really nifty tool that we just have. We just we just started using this 3 months ago. So I'm still learning the new features, but it's supposed to be like teacher friendly and allow us to provide quick feedback while also checking for AI and checking for plagiarism. And it's a really cool tool. It's just that it takes a while to learn how to use it. So I'm still learning daily what I can do with it. But so yeah, I brisk all their papers. And then that gives me the percentage of plagiarized material and also AI generated. So
That's awesome. We don't even have something at the college like that's um college wide to do that across all the like I know the English people have their own tools that they use for stuff, but we don't have something college wide that like all the courses could use for it.
I
So that's
think we were trying to go between Turnitin, I believe was the program, or Brisk.
Mhm.
So I don't know if one was more cost efficient or what, but we did go with the Brisk extension.
we
So
we had Turnitin and we actually had to get rid of it for cost reasons.
mhm.
That was there. So, yeah, but that's interesting. I've never seen that one. So have to ask my English cohorts if they have seen it or used it. So it's cool. Elise or Jen, any thoughts? What's happened in your schools with it?
I mean, our school kind of frowns upon the use of AI for the students completing things. We don't have any actual policies on it, but like everybody already said, it's kind of it takes away the actual emotion and thought process that the students have. And it becomes, I think it was Kelsey said, it's just like this auto-generated kind of robotic tone to it. And I think especially when you're talking is, education, that tone and that ability to communicate, like it's essential that the students actually use that. So I mean, I talk to them too that I frown upon it. Like I said, we don't have an actual policy that says don't use it, but I don't think that it fits very well into this whole field. Like the creativity and the ability to communicate and honestly like the drive to want to do the work, I think are all key things that the kids need to develop and have.
Mhm.
I really like, I just looked it up actually on my phone, the Brisk program that Scott was talking about. I think that's something I want to pose because we did have Turnitin, and then I know it just kind of fell to the wayside and we're not really using it, but that sounds like something that would be really, really something we would be interested in as a district. I know quite a few teachers would use that. But that's the gist,
it
gist of my
has some
thoughts there.
amazing it has some amazing features. Like it's continuously building upon itself. So even if you're not like I'm not the most tech savvy person, but it is interesting to get in there, play around, and just figure out what exactly it can do. So, yeah, Brisk. I had never heard of it before until well, about 4 months ago, learned about it. So it's a really cool extension. Like I said, I know we um, have premium service, so I don't know what that costs, but between the two,
I'm just sitting here kind of laughing because I'm sitting there saying, like, the students, we don't want them to use it, but oh, let us use it because it's going to make it easier for us to check that they're not using different things. But
Right.
I mean, it looks awesome.
Yeah, it does look. I'll have to ask if they know about this one that's there. And it is really funny because like as faculty members at the school, some faculty members struggle and they feel that students are constantly using AI. and I teach astronomy. And I said, all you have to do is give them questions that are some sort of thought-provoking or problem-solving question, and you can tell if they wrote it because you know kind of their writing skill and ability. Like, is it annoying when I get, questions turned in with small I's and U's instead of like YOU? Yes, absolutely. But you know what? I know they wrote it because that's what they do, so. Jen, what do you have?
We have Turnitin, and we also I co-teach with a 12th grade English teacher, and recently we had an Anglo-Saxon essay that we had assigned, and we had the students work on it for a whole month, so plenty of time to do drafts and whatnot. During the second week, we noticed all of these drafts that had um, a lot of lengthy multisyllabic words that we know they did not write. So we just had a teaching moment. We met after school and planned how to use AI and how not to use AI and gave examples. And it was really thought-provoking because a lot of the students thought that, oh, we can pull this off and we don't have to have any, outlines or rough drafts or anything. This will do all of my work for me. And then we talked to them about our policy of plagiarism, what that looked like, how it would be implemented. And then they were like, oh, really? So we just had that moment. And we came back to how can you use AI and giving them some thoughts, but then basing it upon the knowledge that they already know. And so, what we were just talking about their knowledge base. I said, you should be proud of that. And we just complimented them for what they knew and then how to get that down on paper. So using it as more like an outline or a tool or provoking their thoughts, but then getting that creativity back. And so we showed them how it wasn't good and what could be the consequences of it. But then we also showed them how to use it meaningfully, but not use it as a crutch or a tool, or pardon me, and to use it as a tool. So that was very helpful. And I co-teach geometry and kind of like what Kelsey was saying about math. At the beginning of the school year, we just had students flying through getting their homework done. And I'm like, wow, they're really taking a lot of steps with all these problems more than what we had shown. And just, it was very lengthy, some of them. And then I realized I caught a lot of them with their phones out, using different various apps. So then when it came time to take the quiz, we don't permit phone use, just, our issued classroom calculators. And that said it all because then the students who were using that by just getting by for their homework truly then didn't perform well in the quiz. So we use that as a teaching moment too. So we've just been trying to demonstrate and provide examples on how to use it effectively, and how not to use it. So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, that's great. The teaching moment is excellent. I know our English faculty do a lot of that too, especially with plagiarism. Because again, here our policy reads, if you get caught plagiarizing, you can get expelled from the school for it. So normally the first time there was like a teaching moment and they pull the student aside and try to re-explain it, and do it that way. And some of these students, they're really baffled. They're like, I can't do that. And no, you can't because it's not your work, that's there for it. So, but it's really good.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no.
No, you just said about plagiarizing, and I kind of laughed because down in the shops, like downstairs shops, the heavy shops and, construction and stuff. I mean, sure, those kids are there because, they don't really necessarily like the textbook and they want the hands-on. So yeah, using it like the apps, like I was saying, that's great. Fine. You're going to go out, you're going to build a house. I want my house to be straight, whatever, use your app. I don't care. But in my class, I'm not going to, I don't know. I don't really necessarily encourage it just because, we're trying to teach the kids, like she said, their own creativity, and I'm trying to get over plagiarism. Yes, I typed in I literally copied and pasted in Google what you wrote, and like you said, Sherry, I know your writing. It was not even close to what you just wrote for me a week ago. Like I literally just read this, and I mean it was like they were quoting some book, and I said, and I called them the author's name, and they looked at me like I had three heads, and I was like, well, that's exactly who, like, come on. I said I wasn't born just yesterday. Like, I am young, but I wasn't born just yesterday. So I feel like sometimes in my class the maturity level isn't there yet either. um Whenever they don't understand the plagiarism, like, I don't think I want to encourage the AI use right now. I don't know. I mean, and like I said, sometimes it has its benefits. Like I said, going out and being a construction worker and needing to know those, math problems. But I don't know, in the education field, I feel like you do lose your creativity and responsibility, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, in science, you lose your problem solving ability. I mean, when we have students write lab reports and they have to rewrite what they did, I was like, you can't have AI. AI doesn't know what you did in the lab that day. So if you turn me something in, I'll be like, it's not what you did. We did 4 steps. You gave me 28. That's not what we did. So it is that whole problem solving, and that's what I said. I don't want to see that lost. And it is funny because, like, our IT people, they're always like, AI is coming, it's gonna overtake us. And like some of us faculty is like, it's just like everything else. It has its good points and its bad points. Use it where you need to and don't be overwhelmed by it. And like you guys, all of you said, teach the kids how to be responsible users of it. And I think that's the biggest takeaway is teach them how to be responsible users. And then they'll benefit themselves in the long run. Because I love the math example. I was like, that was perfect. I was like, did they fail their quiz? Like the first one, all the kids who did the cheating math
Oh,
one.
many of them did not do well. And then you realized, they were talking about, like, well, you showed me how to use that app and everything. So they were getting their homework points, but then of course everything fell through. And now realizing, they can some of them still, I know, sneak it a little bit and will do it for homework and things, but um I think they do that if they're in a bit of a jam and they need those points. But I'll just pull them aside and just say, hey, I think you had some extra help there, but just remember to go back to your notes and remember we have that quiz or that test coming up and you won't be able to use all this. And then they just kind of like, yeah. And so I'm still trying to filter some of those who want to still use it as a crutch. And I think, unfortunately, we're always going to have those kiddos who do that. But for the most part, I'm going to say like 90% after that teaching moment, after their scores for their quiz came through, they got it. They understood. And after our plagiarism example of how many papers would be, flagged for plagiarism in that class that we had, I think they got the message too. So I do. I think with technology right now, I think if they think that they can Google it and it's there, then it's they can call it their own because they will say to you, "Well, I Googled it or I used the app." So just trying to explain to them specifically their work and somebody else's work, not the work that they're physically typing. And I don't understand where that comes from sometimes. They'll even tell me, well, I'm paying for the app. So just trying to, again, use all those teachable moments.
Yeah. I had a healthcare, we're going to talk about this in our healthcare meeting next week. One of the instructors, our faculty member, came to me and she's like, I think these two students are cheating. I don't know how to prove it. They're taking quizzes, 11 question quizzes. Now the quiz is online. Okay. So it's 11 question quiz in 1 minute and 30 seconds. That's pretty quick. I don't even know if you could really read that. And I said to her, is your book on Chegg? And she's like, what's Chegg? And I said, Chegg is something that the college students can pay for and buy and basically get access to all the answer banks that you have as a faculty member. And she's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, nope. And she looked it up. Her book is on Chegg. I said, it could be that. Um, that's one of the reasons I actually had a student in astronomy the one time email me after they took my first exam, and I teach astronomy online, but I time my online quiz, I randomize everything, but I don't have it proctored, and I don't have it on lockdown browser. A student emailed me and he said, I don't understand what's going on. I couldn't find any of your questions online. I emailed him back. I said, I make my own questions. And he said, so the question banks aren't out there? I'm like, I don't use a question bank. That's the point. And he was like baffled by this, but he failed. He failed the first test because he thought he could look up every answer on it and he would find the answer bank. Because if you've ever done it, especially for college books, once you can copy and paste a question into your browser, it'll come up and then you'll get like a whole list of the other ones. And it's real easy just to pass something that way for it. So that's what the healthcare faculty was like. She's like, I didn't even realize this was out here. And I was like, yep. I said they're probably cheating. But it's how do you prove that? Like you can't accuse a student of that, especially at the college level, that they did that. You'd have to have other like something else for it. So, but yeah, those are definitely some of the things students do. But I was like, I wish I could take an 11 question quiz in a minute, 30 seconds. Woo, speed readers.
I had a kid last year, whenever I was teaching, I taught special ed at another school district, and it was a math quiz. It was online, and I mean, he was not, setting the world on fire in class. And he took my math quiz. It was only like 10 questions, but he took it in, yeah, like 3 minutes. And I thought, man, like sitting here in class for the last 2 weeks, and now you did this within 3 minutes. So I went on, checked his answers, and I said, you better be happy with your score. And he's like, yep, I am. I went in, looked, I'm thinking, darn, he only missed one. Thinking, what the heck? Like, what was I missing like for the last 2 weeks? So I said, okay, well, bring your iPad up here. Let me look. I mean, it was kind of funny because I just literally clicked on his history and I just saw all of his Google. And I said, so do you want to take the zero or, like you're going to take a zero for, well, then I was like, no, like that's too easy for him. I said, no, you're going to do it again. I said, and I'm clearing your history. And so now you're going to sit beside me and do this. But he just like looked at me like, I said, like Google, I had Google whenever I was in school, like Google's not new. But it was just kind of funny because he didn't realize that I would even realize that Google, Googling the answers. And I said, yeah, but it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it is crazy the stories you have out there of what kids do, and I'm sure things that you've seen, and that is just it baffles you. And I always say that's why I go to work every day, because I'm ready to see something I've never seen before. We teach for so many years, and you think we have seen everything a student can do, and then someone else does something, you're like, huh, never saw that one before. I was like, that's good. That's why I came to work today. So it's all good. Anything else? Any other questions, thoughts, anything I can help you with in terms of, teaching our Penn Highlands course or any questions you have on anything?
So just to clarify really quick for the common assessment, you just want, like I only have 4 kids enrolled in, a couple different classes, whatever, but you just want for the common assessment, like literally their score.
Yep.
Like, do you need like their names or whatever, like so and so? Oh, you just need the list of scores. Okay.
Just the four students who are
Right,
enrolled,
right.
nobody else. Yep.
Okay.
That's all we need.
Okay. I just want to make sure I get
On
you.
assessment, are you talking like their end of year or end of class grade, or is it like an individual assignment that you're pulling for? Like I just feel I don't know what exactly you mean.
And see, I don't know what psychology does. So like for education, we pull like Kelsey's is the common assessment that Morgan picked for EC 110 is a education theorist PowerPoint presentation. And
Okay.
that is the common assessment. So we want the score back just from that to show.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, that does.
the math department, I know, for example, they give one problem to all of the ACE faculty, whether they're getting an assessment, whether they get a visit or not that year, and they have to put that one question. So if you teach our algebra class, every single dual enrollment instructor at the high schools gets that one problem to put on. And then they send and then the math department though has the problem broken down into 4 criteria because they're math people. They love this stuff. I was like, oh wow, guys, that looks really like fun. I'm just gonna get our A's, B's, and C's back. I'm like, that meets the NACEP requirement. I'm not sitting here, going through. And they're like, if you did this much, you get 2 points, and this much, it's worth 3. But I was like, whoa, no. So yeah, so it does depend on discipline. Science, especially in labs, we do some different things too for that common assessment. So I wasn't sure what
Okay.
psychology did, but like that's the example we did for education this year.
Okay. So like we did that because I had to rearrange a couple things with the way our breaks line up. So as far as the PowerPoints go and the presentation, so then it'll basically be, I guess I have to wait until I get the like official notification of that, which you said will probably be in the spring,
Yeah, see if because I
maybe.
know Kaylee had to split um like between all the 3 areas, I think I would have had 13 visits, which is a lot of
Okay.
visits because I teach full time too. So it's like trying to get to the school districts in between. So she split them, and I thought she said there might be one in the spring for education. But we'll see. She'll give me the list, and here's the thing, I'll
Okay.
touch base, and like if you don't hear from me by the beginning of February, um, you probably weren't on the list, but I'll double check with Kaylee, too
Okay.
on Thursday. Well, you'll be there Thursday night, so
Hmm.
we could even ask her then just to see if you're on a spring visit.
Okay.
And we do know that's why, and that's what's kind of tricky. When you teach a full year course, you might have already finished what is the common assessment by the time we get out there. And that was a lot of
Hmm.
the problem with the artifacts that the high school teachers gave they gave the kids their papers back. So they didn't have any artifacts anymore, so they just had the grades. So I think that's what really kind of motivated the change in that, especially for full year classes. Because we ran into that with science all the time, especially with like our A&P courses and that. So
Okay, thank you. I just felt like I missed something I should have known, and then I didn't want to ask, but okay, that makes total sense, and thank you for clarifying.
yeah, no problem. Anything else I can help with? Well, I said we, try to keep it to an hour. We're at 6:55, so we're right under that hour, so that'll be great. I am going to, let me stop the recording here.